views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good evening and welcome to the Bronx Buzz. We are here every week with a Bronx Reporters Roundtable. It's a relatively new show. We started just a couple of months ago, but every week your buddy Gary Axelbank comes here and we talk with Bronx reporters about what's happening in the Bronx. And the first half of the show we'll talk about their individual papers and publications. And then the second half of the show we pick a subject of a common interest and we'll talk about that. So let me introduce to you our two guests for tonight. It is Patrick Rocchio, who's back on the show, the assignment editor from this paper, which is the Bronx Times Reporter, right here. Nice to have you back, Patrick.
Nice to be back, Gary.
Always good to see you. And brand new to the show, relatively new to the Bronx, from the Riverdale Press, Anthony Capote. Nice to have you with us, sir.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, let's just get right to it. I am going to tell my friends and neighbors from the Bronx that really, for me, among the best things about doing the program is before the show, we really have a rich dialogue about really cool stuff going on in the Bronx, which I really enjoy. I'm sorry you're not with us for that. But nonetheless, Patrick, nice to have you with us. How are things at the Bronx Times? What's going on?
They're great. Things are great at the Bronx Times. We're working on a lot of interesting stories right now. There's a lot going on in the eastern part of the Bronx right now that we're covering, and June really seemed to be a really busy month for us.
Mm-hmm. And you were on the show before. I probably asked you something about this beforehand. But what's exciting about working at the Bronx Times? I mean, I'm going to just interject before I even let you answer. It's a very positive paper. It gives a nice feel for the Bronx. Not to say that you shy away from the heavy stories or controversial things. But really, I mean, here you are, the front page of the paper is the borough president kissing a centenarian. And so that's a nice thing. But so tell me about what you like about working there.
Well, I mean, it's a very interesting paper to work at because the people there are just really nice.
That's good.
The people are very nice. It's just a nice group of people to work with. I think that's the thing I like probably the most about the job.
People are enthusiastic about the borough, obviously.
Oh yeah, of course, and I think we are able to do really good work on with the staff that we have. What's exciting about it is that I get to write for a living.
There you go, which is something that you love to do. You're also the assignment editor. Now, we had Robert Wersing on a couple of times already, and I was talking to him about selection of photos when he looks through thousands of photos. Talk to me about, dozens or hundreds of stories that could come by your desk.
Sure.
What makes you say, I want to do this one, I want to do that one? I mean, I guess there's a geographic part of it, right?
Well, we're stronger in the eastern part of the Bronx in a group of neighborhoods where a lot of the community groups subscribe to the paper.
Right.
So,
can I just read them off right off the masthead?
If you want to.
Throgs Neck, Pelham Bay, Country Club, City Island, Westchester Square, Morris Park, Pelham Parkway, and Castle Hill. Go ahead.
Yeah, those are probably the strongest areas. Not that we don't cover the entire Bronx. We do cover the entire Bronx. So that kind of determines it. A lot of it is determined by what we think or what I think, and I sort of sit down with the staff and discuss it. What we think that the readers want to see, what's important to them. And what I like to do, or what I really have to do, is weigh all of the different options that come to me, including, from public relations firms and also elected officials, and see what can we work on given the size of our staff.
Right. In other words, you can do the biggest investigative story you want, but you don't really have the staff or the time necessarily in some cases to do it.
In some cases.
Well, so let's hop right to the front page of the paper. This whole idea of PS14 planning to double in size. One of the themes that I found in the Bronx Times over the years is community control over things that happen.
Right.
And two of the stories that I know you've written about really relate to that. So talk to me about this idea of PS14, what the plan is, and then what community reaction is.
All right, so PS14 is a school in Waterbury, LaSalle, off Bruckner Boulevard, and it is a school that was built probably at least 75 years ago. And the School Construction Authority has plans to double it in size by expanding into part of the schoolyard. And when the community got wind of this, which was pretty far into the design process, I think it had already been put out to bid. It had been put out to bid.
Wow.
The people who lived nearby were not very happy. Now, the thing to bear in mind here, I think, is that the school is probably the largest building for several blocks in either direction.
Right.
And it's really a low-rise area. Seats are needed. They're needed, according to the School Construction Authority, at PS14, but they're also needed at PS71 in nearby Pelham Bay. Now Pelham Bay has high-rise buildings and homes.
So this is an conceptually out of context.
The people who feel
so. Let me cut to the chase a little bit. So people were surprised. Number one, they were not happy about finding out they're going to get quote unquote a behemoth in their neighborhood. And having a little sympathy for the devil, so to speak, what could the SCA do aside from informing the community ahead of time? And we know, I'm saying this, we know they didn't because they didn't want to deal with the objection beforehand.
Right. Well, the SCA could build an annex to PS71. They were looking at a site off of, I think it's Pelham Parkway South,
okay,
that had been a parking lot. They were looking at the former Pelham Bay General Hospital, which is also on Pelham Parkway South, and they were looking at a site that is across the street from the school that's also a parking lot for, for a senior building.
Right.
And they didn't develop it.
They didn't develop it, and it could be for whatever reason they thought this was a site. How do you see it playing out at this point?
I mean, it is out to bid. Councilman Vaca said that he had reduced the size of it somewhat. It's going to be probably difficult to stop.
So it's coming. The other thing which is related, I just want to spend a minute on it, is the story you wrote about the group home. I've got it in here somewhere. I'm reading along. The group home at Spencer Estate.
Right.
Talk to me about that.
Okay, so Middletown Road, a homeowner wanted to sell actually three homeowners, but I think one actually lived there, wanted to sell their home to a group called Daybreak Independent Services to operate a group home.
I want to move it ahead because I want to make sure we get enough time for Anthony. So the idea here is, yet again, a group home is being proposed. People are saying that, you know what, we don't want this in our neighborhood. Why are we getting, we've heard that this is like a story, you probably could just take the names off and use the story I had last month.
Sure, maybe.
And for that, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, it was sold to another person.
So now it's moving along and it's hard to say what's going to happen.
It's hard to say what's going to happen. Daybreak may come back with another site. There was a very, very strong community objection to it. And it really touched a nerve over there. That
for the same reason that I said, we've been through this 100 times.
Right. They feel that they haven't gotten notice.
Let's turn to Anthony Capote and the Riverdale Press. And Anthony, right in the middle is Anthony's picture. How ironic for a guy who just started with the paper, a 65-year-old legendary newspaper, and he's right on the cover of the anniversary section. Anthony, let's get to meet you, though. Where are you from? How long you've been at the Press? A little background so people will know who you are.
Originally, I'm from Miami. I came up to New York for college. I go to Manhattan College.
You currently go?
Currently go. I technically still have a semester left.
Okay.
But I started interning at the Press about a year ago, became a freelancer, and then the politics position opened up this summer, and they offered it to me, and so I'm here at least for the summer, hopefully longer.
Well, maybe putting you on TV will help solidify.
Yeah, hopefully. Please.
And the fact that they put you on the cover of the 65th anniversary issue. Why do you like to write? Why do you like to do what you do?
Let me tell you, at first I thought that I was going to study journalism just because I loved to write and I liked reading the news, and I thought I could enjoy this. And I joined the school paper, fell in love with it, and it's just one of those things where, like, I wake up every day. I wake up every day and I can't believe someone pays me to do this.
Wow, isn't that what a great attitude? Hands off, he's working for the Riverdale Press. And I guess also, listen, you could work for a lot of papers, but getting the opportunity to work for a paper that has this kind of legacy must be really special. And a high standard also. I mean, they really work to. So tell me just about the paper and your opportunity here.
The Riverdale Press has kind of this standard of being really, really good at what we do. And no matter how many new reporters come in, I've been sort of in the office for a year now, and every time someone new comes in, they just sort of automatically adopt that mentality. Yeah, and it's just a place
so it's
to
inspirational
be really good.
for you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple of articles that you've written about. There are a number of things that are interesting to me. One, I thought, as a Lehman College graduate, I thought this idea that CUNY was going to be partitioning off where you would be allowed to protest, especially because I went to Lehman College during eras of protests and things like that. Mm-hmm. So where is that at? Tell me about that story that you wrote.
That's really interesting, where they tried to propose something like this, CUNY, in 2013, and they were shot down by the Board of Trustees. And it's really odd, to me at least, that they're proposing this again, where they want sort of these free speech zones. And if you want to protest, you have to protest or demonstrate in specific areas. Even they wanted to limit media access, where I think in the proposed guidelines it says media representatives or like news media representatives are always welcome on campus, but they are strongly encouraged to contact media personnel before coming.
And also, if you're having a protest, I mean, it's very hard. I mean, the implications of that, because you could change the zones and start limiting where they could be. They
could make it so that you can only protest behind the parking garage.
Yeah, or something like that. Wow, the implications of that. And where is that dialogue at right now? It's still in deliberation?
It's still in deliberation. I believe on the 27th it is going to go before the board. I'm not sure if it's exactly the 27th, but I want to say it is. And it'll go before the Board of Trustees for a vote.
And then we'll find out after.
And then we'll find out.
I told you beforehand that I had a little story from when I was at Lehman College. I was during this era where the people were streaking, where they would just take off their clothes. And it was so crazy because we were told that they were going to be streakers, which kind of spoils the whole idea of it. And I remember, I think it was my freshman year of college or my sophomore year. And everybody lined up, and then 3 naked guys just ran across the Lehman College campus. So I don't know if that was a protest, if you could designate where you could run naked. I don't know. Anyway, that's just an aside. I thought it was a funny story to tell. There are so many stories I wanted to talk to you about. We are going to talk politics when we do our Bronx Buzz. This idea of a plastic bag fee, and I'm going to say that I have been an unabashed supporter of it, not because I think people should pay the fee, but I think nobody should pay the fee because we should all learn new habits. Talk to me about the state's rejection of the idea of a bag fee. This is what you wrote about.
Yeah. The state Senate drafted this bill and passed it that would make it illegal for you to tax any grocery bags anywhere in the state. Now, the interesting thing is the city law has an effective date in October, and they gave the state law an effective date sometime in February. So I think that was...
Well, that's kind of crazy, because then the city could impose a law and then it would remove it.
What Councilman Cohen told me was that it's going to be sort of a probationary period where the city...
To see how it goes.
Yeah, to see how it goes.
Well, if I can just interject, I believe it was on Bronx Talk, and he made it clear what I just said, that nobody should pay the fee, that everybody should learn to bring, cloth bags or canvas bags.
It's cheaper to use a reusable bag. There's no two ways about it. Just in the long run, even if you decide that you're just going to pay the plastic bag fee, you're going to save so much money by just deciding to go to a store, buy a reusable, or like one of those like cold bags.
Yeah, and just have it. Well, I'm going to say something that may sound flip, but it's actually true that you could buy a bag in your community, where you work over in Riverdale, and then find it floating in the water outside City Island, and that's the danger of this thing, where Patrick works. I mean, it's not a limited issue, and in a video that we had shown on Bronx Talk, and this is my own advocacy, which I have the microphone, so I'm going to use, there's no way. You say, I'm going to take the bag, I'm going to throw it away. Well, there's no way it's going to go in a landfill and sit there for years. It's going to go in the ocean and sit there. So I personally am for the fee, mostly not because anybody should pay it, but because we should stop using them. That's my attitude. All right, gentlemen, we're Patrick Rocchio of the Bronx Times Reporter and Anthony Capote from the Riverdale Press. We're going to take a break, and right after the break, we're going to come back, and our buzz of the week, they both attended the debate that we did on Bronx Talk for the 13th Congressional District, so we're going to talk about that race in the Congress to replace Charlie Rangel. That election will be this coming Tuesday, or the primary, technically. The election will be in November, but the primary will be this coming Tuesday. All right, right after this, we'll be back with the buzz. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm David Lesh, legal correspondent to the morning show Open. If you have a legal question that you'd like me to answer, please send me an email at davidlesh@bronxnet.org, and I will address it on our Ask Your Lawyer segment.
Hey, I'm Darren Jaime. I'm the host of Wednesday's Open right here on BronxNet Television, Channel 67, and also on Verizon Files, Channel 33. Want to invite you every Wednesday. You get an opportunity to see what's going on in the world of news, current events, debates, public information. That's what happens here on Open every Wednesday. So we invite you to join us right here on BronxNet Television.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
All right, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. The guests are Patrick Rocchio, the Bronx Times Reporter, and Anthony Capote from the Riverdale Press. Both of them attended the debate that BronxNet broadcast, which we did on Bronx Talk for the 13th Congressional District. We had 6 of the 9 candidates there, and so we're going to talk a little bit about who might very well succeed Charlie Rangel. What'd you think? What'd you think of the debate?
I thought it was a great debate.
You did? You liked it?
I really liked it.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. What if he said he hated it? I was the guy who put it together. Go ahead.
There was a lot of give and take back and forth between the candidates, much more so than in the AARP debate.
Right. And I think you both attended that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like a week before.
Not that wasn't a great debate. It was, but I think that I got a better sense of who the candidates really are as people, and a better, more intimate portrait of them.
Your thoughts?
I thought it was great.
You don't have to say that. I'm good with whatever comes up.
I think that one of the hard parts about hosting a debate with so many candidates is that it is hard to get that back and forth. And I having 6 of them there helped with that, because
as opposed to 8 or 9.
Yes, because 8 or 9 of them together you just can't talk for a long time. And I think that they hit a lot of really good issues, issues that are important to their constituents, and also that they're actually going to do if elected to Congress.
I'm really going to reveal something that was behind the scenes that we really didn't talk about on the air yet, and both of you, I think, were part of the dialogue. Just beforehand, we found out that neither Adriano Espaillat could make it or Guillermo Linares could make it because they were stuck in Albany. So I think you were both part of the dialogue.
Sure.
They wanted to send surrogates to participate in the debate, and I really didn't have a problem with it. I said, well, they can't be here for if it was an illegitimate reason or one we perceived as such, I wouldn't have permitted it. And I was ready to do that. Then we got a call from one of the other candidates' offices that said, if you have a surrogate, we won't show up. And then the decision was made, no surrogates were going to be allowed. The League of Women Voters said, we never allow them, and that's how we did. What did you make of all that? Did you have a problem with the surrogates?
I think that in principle, the idea of a surrogate is kind of odd, that you're sending, especially Adriano Espaillat was sending a city council member.
Right, to represent
him. And I thought that is that's just a weird concept. In this case, they were doing their jobs. They were in Albany working. It wasn't
like they were
it wasn't like they just didn't want to come or they were at a fundraiser.
But here's the other side, and we'll let Patrick weigh in a second, is that Keith Wright, it was his campaign, and they said, look, we thought this debate was important enough, so we came and literally missed our time in Albany, which is a significant thing. He could be criticized for that. Mm-hmm. And he said, if we thought it was that important, why would somebody else get to send a surrogate? Your thoughts?
The idea of a surrogate is a nice idea in concept, but I think in practice it would have been a bad idea.
And looking at the debate after the fact, I felt the same way. I was glad that we had made the decision. I also have to tell you, I was so thankful that you guys were there. There was other media there that we consulted with, as well as the League of Women Voters. So it wasn't just like on my shoulders to come up with an answer. We had objective, responsible people who weighed in. I like that idea. Do you want to weigh in and think who you thought did the best, or what you thought the best interaction? I don't know if you want to say who won the debate. A lot of times I feel like I know who won. I walked away from that not thinking anybody won. But what are your thoughts?
I don't really feel that anyone won that debate. There was a really good dialogue, when they were talking about, I believe, about foreign policy. I thought was pretty good towards the end of the debate.
Right.
I
think the question was how is President Obama doing on terrorism?
Right. I don't think any one particular person won the debate. I personally, this is me, was impressed by Clyde Williams and his performance during it. Keith Wright was also very well spoken.
Mm-hmm. I really thought from my evaluation, I've done more than 50 of them, I thought the field was pretty good. And frankly, Sam Sloan struck me as kind of an oddball character, but he made some interesting points.
He did.
Go ahead.
Sam Sloan I've been at a couple of the other debates, and I've watched crowds sort of laugh Sam Sloan almost off the stage. At that AARP debate, they just laughed every time he spoke.
It's too wonky.
Yes, it was very wonky.
Wonkish.
But at this debate, it was like watching a different Sam Sloan.
Really?
He was very...
Who do you think did well?
I agree that Clyde did well. I personally think that Susan Johnson cooked debates very well. Mm-hmm. She sort of, it seems like she has everything ready, and she just does.
It seems to me she sums up what she hears and then comes up with a different thing to say that's unique. I was impressed with Michael Gallagher. I thought Michael was surprising because I really didn't know him. Of course, we know about some of the other candidates, and also Mr. Williams as well. What do you make of? This was in the New York One debate. I saw it. And in fact, it was the only issue the Times wrote about, this whole idea of ethnicity in this district. That they said, well, is it a black district? Is it a Dominican district? Is now you're into the Bronx? And I didn't ask any questions about it. I just found it to be irrelevant. Your thoughts? Is that something that pundits or others should be considering when looking at a candidate?
I don't think it's something that pundits should consider. I think it's something that voters think about. I think that there are definitely people, at least in Harlem, that are thinking about that.
That's a very, very shrewd analysis, I think. Right?
For a reporter's purposes, our job is to make sure that we understand their platforms and we understand what they're trying to say, and we can put them up against one another.
Do you think ethnicity is going to play? In other words, that if Harlem is the biggest part of the district, then you'd think that Clyde Williams and Keith Wright have an advantage, certainly quote unquote inheriting the seat from Charlie Rangel.
I think ethnicity always plays a role. An old political hand told me one time that if somebody doesn't know anything about a candidate, they generally tend to go with
somebody they relate to in that way.
Right, right.
You know what's interesting though, and again, it's a pit you could fall into in the Bronx and certainly in Manhattan. We say, well, the people in Harlem will vote one way. Listen, Washington Heights is a large part of that district as well, sure. And there are Dominicans there, and they will know Adriano Espaillat and all that kind of thing. Do you have a prediction? I mean, I hate to do that, but it's a logical question. Any thoughts on how it's going to go? Adriano ran twice before. Guillermo Linares is respected as an assemblyman. I mean, it's a really interesting field. And Clyde Williams. I don't want to leave anybody out. What are your thoughts?
I think probably, and I'm just guessing here, probably the two strongest showings will be Wright and Espaillat.
There's no question that the amount of money they have to spend, even if there's negative campaigning that's going on, it puts their name out there. Your thoughts?
I hate
Boy,
to,
he's hesitating like crazy.
I hate to go by who's won more endorsements, but it's between that category. It's definitely somewhere between Wright and Espaillat.
Yeah. Well, listen, we don't want, because they said that, don't vote your conscience, and that's why we put the debate on TV. Patrick Rocchio from the Bronx Times Reporter, thank you so much. Anthony Capote from the Riverdale Press, welcome aboard. And you guys are great guests. We're going to have you again, and so we appreciate you being with us. I think that's the end of the show. Shaquan, don't you have something to show me? He doesn't. Our camera operator always does the portrait of me during the show. And oh wow, this is a good one. Look at this. Can we? And on that note, he sits there. He think he's watching the show? No, he's making pictures like with the mustache and the whole bit. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Shaquan, for nothing. And we'll see you all next week. Good night. See you on Bronx Talk.